FM or streamed online, as well as on WEZC 95.9 FM.
WHOW Planting Reports are brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick, AAK Mechanical, Peterson Insurance, Longview Bank, and State Bank of Beemont.
From the Hart Media Group newsroom and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this expanded morning newscast. Good morning and thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Ben Hubbard. The news is brought to you by Baum Chevy Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters, as well as Connexus, offering fiber internet in Clinton. Click their icon on DeWittDailyNews.com to find out more. The city of Clinton continued its efforts to expand local housing, moving forward with new incentives to attract developers and accommodate the county's industrial growth. On the WHOW Morning Show Wednesday, City Administrator Tony Harris told the Hart Media Group, while these efforts have been underway for nearly a year, the city is still in the early stages of laying the groundwork for significant residential development.
We want to make sure that the city of Clinton and the county capitalizes on those businesses coming in. There's going to be 500 plus employees, then we want to make sure that we've got the housing. Right now, we do not. So we started very early last year working on that. And, we're, I think you said it earlier before we went on the air, laying the groundwork. We're trying to lay the groundwork just to, we're in the very early stages still, even though it's been almost a year since we started working on this. We're laying the groundwork. It's no secret. We're working on a TIF district to give incentives to builders, developers that want to come to town and to take advantage of that to offset some cost. The mayor and I had a meeting with all the local builders in town just to kind of brainstorm, their ideas on what they're doing. That was a successful meeting. So the developers, the local builders, they're listening to us. And I've been contacted by most of them on how can we help, So we're trying to build the TIF district around some of that where, where they maybe plan to build apartment buildings or, housing. So we're listening to them too, and they're listening to us. And we're in the very early stages of it. Some of them have already bought land or their intent is to buy land.
A primary focus of the council's action was the approval of inducement resolutions. These non-binding agreements allow developers to potentially tap into tax increment financing, or TIF funds, if their project falls within the boundaries of a TIF district. Harris notes these incentives are often the first thing builders ask for when considering developing in a community.
And you talked about the inducement resolution, and what that is basically is the intent. It's an agreement between the developer. It's an intent to take advantage of the TIF funds if they come available. It's a non-binding agreement, but it just puts them in a place where if the TIF district lands in their geographical area where they're planning on building either houses, businesses, retail, whatever, then they can take advantage of that. So again, we're laying the groundwork. We're in the very early stages. We had a developer in here, I don't know, last month, I think it was, talking about a proposed subdivision. I want to emphasize on that one, we're kind of at phase 0 on that. The land's not even been purchased yet. The only thing we did on that is the council approved the inducement resolution. That's it. The land's not been purchased. The developer has not given us any kind of drawings yet. There's a lot of work that has to go into that when we get the proposed site plan. We've got to work with the water and sewer. How's that going to look? How are we going to connect the streets, to the existing streets? How are we going to connect the water? How are we going to connect the sewer? So there's a lot that goes into that. And that project really is at phase 0.
These agreements signal to the developers the city is open for business. By passing the inducement resolutions before land is purchased, Harris says the city ensures that developers remain eligible for TIF assistance, which can help offset critical infrastructure costs like water and sewer connections.
why we are doing this is because if we don't do the inducement resolution, if we don't do that agreement, then they can't take advantage of the TIF if the TIF comes. Typically what happens is the TIF is already in place. We've got the TIF boundary and it's already in place. A developer will come in and say, I want that land. It's in the TIF district, so I'm going to go after these TIF incentives. Unfortunately, that's not here yet. So, again, we started the TIF project last year as well. And because we're seeing economic growth, we're getting lots of things coming in at once. But that's, I mentioned it last time I was in, when we talk to developers, that's the first thing they ask. What's the incentive here?
Mm-hmm.
Are we in a TIF district? So you're right. The problem is we don't have that established TIF. So we're trying to work all these projects. We're trying to come up with a TIF boundary to help. But we're also getting all these developers contacting us, and they want to do something here, whether it's residential housing or retail businesses, commercial businesses. So it's all coming together at once. That's kind of the problem. So we're working all these avenues all at one time.
According to Harris, the city is also working with a consultant to formally establish a new TIF district. Harris explains defining these boundaries is a complex process that requires ongoing coordination with local builders and planners.
Well, now that we've already the council's already approved two inducement resolutions, and that we asked them to hold off before they purchase any land. Hold off on that. We need to do this inducement resolution first, so you can take advantage of the TIF. If they purchase the land before the inducement resolution, then that's done before the TIF is in place, and they can't take advantage of the TIF district when it comes to land purchase, because that's one qualifying expense. If you look up TIF, it'll give you a lot of information on it, and we have a short amount of time. But there's different qualifying expenses when it comes to TIF, and land purchase is one of them. So now that we've done these two inducement resolutions, I think you're going to see some land, some closing on land here coming up in the next couple of weeks. That was the very first step. The timeline on the TIF, council is currently reviewing the TIF boundary. We're working with our consultant on that. Another thing that was put on the agenda on file last night was the TIF 5. Again, that's the new TIF district, and that's a boundary. So the council approved the consultant to work with the consultant on that. So that was again the very first step to get to get approval to work with our consultant on that and help us with the agreements, the boundaries, and those type of things. So there's a lot of work that goes into that.
This will continue to be an ongoing process to establish TIF districts, but Harris hopes to have dirt moving later this year. Coming up shortly on this expanded newscast, Heyworth schools among many reevaluating technology's place in classrooms. Warner Hospital and Health Services continues to explore expanding its specialty clinic with a particular focus on bringing dermatology services to Clinton. CEO Paul Skowron says recruiting specialists in this field is a significant challenge for smaller facilities, as many dermatologists prefer to operate out of larger surgical centers.
Well, in our specialty clinic, for example, we did just add a new urologist from Gibson area hospital, and so we're looking to add additional urology services. On my wish list, and most of the hospitals are on there, trying to get dermatology services back.
Oh, really?
It's very hard. Bloomington Normal just got back a group that had left them a few years ago. There are dermatology clinics in larger cities that do dermatology services and also have surgery centers, and they're built around the surgery center. So to get the dermatologists to come out to the smaller facilities and visit our specialty clinic and all the smaller hospitals, it's a challenge. And I've always invited them to do surgical procedures at our facility, but they prefer to bring them back to where they built the surgery center. I know it doesn't sound... So there's two different kinds of dermatology. There's aesthetics. You get into the folks, the seniors that develop cancer spots on their head and their faces as they get older. These things can be removed and were removed in the past. with an in-office procedure. Dermatologists do that. They used to fill up the specialty clinic.
According to Scourin, while the city-owned facility is equipped to host these surgical procedures, the current trend of specialists centralizing in larger markets continues to be a hurdle for rural healthcare access.
I just want to point out one last point that I did stress with City Council is that once again, our capital budget of $1.9 million for the new fiscal year, that includes a whole bunch of things that we don't have time to go through for the year, is going to be provided through, because we have a positive operating budget, through normal cash flow. We do not have to borrow money. So we do not have any debt, and we don't need to have any debt in the future.
The hospital recently had its financial year 27 budget approved by the Clinton City Council. You're listening to the WHOW Morning Show. Let's take a quick break with a word from our sponsors.
Baum Chevrolet Buick offers full transportation options while giving you peace of mind. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick here in Clinton. This is what we do every day. We listen to you, give you options for routine maintenance, major mechanical problems, or collision repairs with a staff that's knowledgeable to find the best option for you. Baum Chevrolet Buick, your full-service dealer. See us at baumchevybuick.com right from the start.
It's the quiet moments you count on. A call that connects instantly, a show that never buffers, a home that just works. That's the difference with Connexus Fiber Internet. We built a buried fiber network designed for consistency, earning us the title of top-rated fiber internet provider in Illinois. With plans starting as low as $25 a month and 3-year price lock options, it's reliability you can feel without the unpredictability. Because with Connexus, connection means everything. Experience better at Connexus.com. Nothing Connexus like Connexus.
News time is 22 minutes after the top of the hour. You're listening to the WHOW Morning Show. With schools increasingly reassessing the impact of screens in the classroom, the Heyworth School District is joining a number of area schools reassessing their technology policies. Superintendent Dr. Lisa Taylor explains that while districts across the country rushed toward one-to-one device programs over the last 15 years, the current landscape of constant digital access has fundamentally shifted the need of the classroom. So much so, the district is now questioning the necessity of purchasing individual devices for every student and is considering a shift back to shared classroom carts instead.
Yeah, I think back. Of course, I was a computer teacher when I was a high school teacher. So we won't talk about the years, but anyways, that was the days of computer labs, right? And they were in such high demand. So on my planning, there was always a class, using my computers, and there was just very limited access at home and school. And then with one-to-one, we shifted to, there was still pretty limited access at home for kids. And so it was important for schools to be able to teach kids how to use this technology and prepare them for the work world. And so everybody kind of went to one-to-one maybe 15 years ago or so. And now we all have devices in our hands at all the time, basically, and most kids have devices at home. And so it's like we've shifted the other way to where school doesn't need to provide that when most kids are getting it, right? At least not as much as we have been. And I think Cheryl Warner was on talking about the anxious generation. I've read that book. There's a kids version that is really good that talks to kids about, making connections and realizing the distractions that phones have. And I think now we're all making that shift. And so we're going through the process of evaluating our one-to-one program. Do we need to be buying devices for every kid, right? Or do we need just carts? We're going to survey parents. We're going to meet with, student groups, and they're recognizing too that it's a distraction for them. We have teachers now who take cell phones when kids enter, or they put them in a bin. And we're all kind of at that point in life where we're like, whoa, we need to put our phone down. And so as a school, we're just going to take a bigger look at it and make some suggestions, recommendations to the board.
The move toward reduced screen time is driven by a desire to prioritize traditional learning methods that many feel have been overshadowed by digital tools. Dr. Taylor feels it might be worth returning to handwritten work and physical books, noting the addictive nature of constant connectivity has become a significant barrier for student focus.
It's definitely one of those things we've been discussing for years, right? And especially when it comes to talking about the writing by students, right? Writing by hand versus writing on a computer, right? And reading a hardback book versus reading on a computer. And so I think the conversation's been going for a while, but as more and more data comes out about the anxiety that this cell phone addiction that we all have, right? Mine's sitting here staring at me, lighting up every 5 seconds, right? It's when all of this data and research is coming out, and it's like, let's take a step back, right? There's some things we were doing really well. Yes, kids need to learn how to use technology, right? And how to use it for the right things, but we also need to limit distractions, because I think that's the number one issue all schools are dealing with is it's distracting for students and it keeps them engaged in the wrong things, right?
Yeah.
And so the book did kick it into, our administrative team's been talking about it for a couple of years, but like everything else, you get busy and other things take priority. And this helped us make it a priority. And especially as we were also recommending to the board, cell phones up through junior high really need to not be used at all. They need to be not out of sight. Our plan for next year is if a kid in junior high, needs to use their phone to call their parent, they go to the office, they can use the office phone or the office can give them permission. And then high schoolers will just have it kind of in those free times, lunch, that sort of thing.
Beyond academic performance, the district is also addressing the mental health implications of high-tech environments. Dr. Taylor pointed to the book The Anxious Generation as a catalyst for the district's conversations, noting that student anxiety and the pressures of social media are the primary issues administrators deal with daily.
Yeah, it just really reinforced a lot of what I saw. And I would say the number one issue we deal with, and I don't know that it's unique to Heyworth, but is anxiety, right? And student anxiety, some of it related to just technology addiction, but some of it related to, peers and what people are saying in social media. And it's this whole nother layer of pressure that they don't need. We need you to be able to be engaged and focused while you're here, and really working on teaching kids even limiting use outside of school, right? It's scary. It's not, for a lot of schools, I just saw an article on Bloomington too, where they were talking about their number one discipline issue was cell phones.
Yeah.
Before, right?
Yeah.
And it's just the misuse of such, and it's so hard not to. And just the number of kids, you and I talked about this a lot during COVID with mental health issues, and then social media just kind of exacerbating that, and this always having to be on your phone, always having to impress someone, doing things for validation and for likes, and really lacking the social skills they need to have tough conversations, for conflict resolution with peers, all of those things. And so it's probably a little bit overdue, but the book did help us.
According to Dr. Taylor, a significant portion of school-related conflict and even police involvement now stems from incidents that originate on cell phones. Under a new plan for next year, junior high students will be required to keep cell phones out of sight entirely, with a more restricted free time model for high schoolers.
Yeah, almost all of the conflict that schools deal with does stem from cell phone usage, right? And parents, there are some tools, right, that kids are good. They can beat those tools. They find a way to work around anything if they need to. And so tracking those things down, thinking about the amount of time that we spend on those things. And then legally, you can't discipline kids for things outside of the school unless there's a connection or a substantial disruption to the learning environment, right? And so you have to be really intentional if we are going to have to discipline about how that's connected and make sure it is, right? And how much police involvement we have with cell phones. It is, and oftentimes good kids, right? Just exposed to so much information and so quickly and for so many hours a day, right? You're going to make some mistakes and do things wrong.
Sure.
And so let's reel some of that back. I think that's where everyone is.
The Heyworth School District plans to survey parents and meet with student groups as it continues to finalize its technology recommendations for upcoming school board meetings. Get news anytime from your computer or your mobile device at DeWittDailyNews.com. That's DeWitt County's #1 source for news, sports, police blotter, obituaries, and more. Best of all free all the time at DeWittDailyNews.com. Network news is now.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. When it comes to ending the war, it seems the ball is now in Iran's court. Tehran says it is reviewing an American proposal. President Trump says Iran has already agreed to give up its quest for nuclear weapons, and the president threatens a resumption of bombing if a deal is not agreed to. Forecasters warn of the possibility of more severe weather across the southeast in the coming days. There's a lot of property damage after strong storms, including possible tornadoes, roared across parts of the region. Dutch authorities say about 40 passengers on a cruise ship at the center of a hantavirus outbreak previously disembarked after the first passenger on the ship died. Secretary of State Rubio is at the Vatican for an audience with Pope Leo XIV. On Wall Street, Dow futures are 62 points higher. NASDAQ futures up 4 points. More details, SRNnews.com.
Progressive presents Perfectly Bad Excuses for Missing Stuff to Spend More Time on Your Motorcycle.
Hey, Tom. Gonna miss the 5K. Gotta organize my vitamins. A, B, C. There's so many. D.
Now that was a bad excuse. If you love your vehicle this much, get customized coverage from Progressive, America's #1 motorcycle insurer. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in D.C.
Veterans and active duty service members. When your call to service ends, your mission doesn't have to. Go from GI to IT in just a few months at My Computer Career. Prepare for a high-demand career in cybersecurity, protecting people, systems, and institutions from real cyber threats. Cyber warriors are needed now. Will you answer the call? Go to mycomputercareer.edu/CWP to learn more. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP, an elite CompTIA certification partner. VA education benefits are available to those who qualify.
From the Hart Media Group Sports Desk, IL Sports Wire, and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this local sports report. In a game heard on WEZC and online at DeWittDailyNews.com, Grant Kiger hit an inside-the-park home run. Coy Williams blasted a solo shot backing Matthias Rudolph's 5 innings as Monticello beat Pana 8-3 in a makeshift non-conference high school baseball game in Monticello on Wednesday. Kiger took advantage of a misplayed 3-run homer in the first inning. A routine fly ball was lost in the midday sky by Pana's right fielder, allowing Kiger to easily score. It was all Rudolph needed. The junior fired 5 innings of 1-run ball with 7 strikeouts, 3 walks, and permitted just 2 hits. Williams' 5th inning no-doubter to right put Monticello in front 8-1. Rudolph added an RBI triple that capped the 4-run first inning for Monticello. He was 2 for 3 at the plate, earning the State Bank of Bement Player of the Game. Kiger finished 2 for 3 with a double in addition to his inside-the-park home run. Pana falls to 12-11 overall. Monticello goes to 25-2. They will host Mattoon on Saturday. Ridge Braden drove in 5 runs from the 9 spot in the Heyworth batting order, and Heyworth powered its way to an 11-3 win over Fisher in Heart of Illinois Conference baseball action on Wednesday in Heyworth. Braden single in the 3rd scored 3 runs to put the Hornets up 6-0. He finished 3 for 4 with a double. Braden Leish and Caleb Zellers had doubles, while Boston Cats had a triple in an offensive power display by the Hornets. Cats went 3 innings of shutout ball with 4 strikeouts, and 4 Hornets arms combined to strike out 10. Heyworth goes to 8-11-2 overall and 4-6 in the Heart of Illinois Conference action. They visit Peoria Christian on Thursday. Chase Roberts singled home the winning run in the bottom of the 9th inning, and Mount Pulaski walked off Athens 4-3 in Tomahawk Conference action on Wednesday, clinching the outright conference championship for the Hilltoppers in Mount Pulaski. Skylar Durst singled to start the inning. A sacrifice moved him to second. After the second out, Roberts brought home Durst to secure the Hilltoppers' 14th victory of the season. Luke Martin pitched into the 6th inning for Mount Pulaski, allowing 2 runs on 5 hits issuing 6 walks and striking out 8. Roberts struck out 6 in 3 1/3 innings of relief for the win in Mount Pulaski. Roberts was 1 for 3 with an RBI and 2 walks to lead Mount Pulaski. The Hilltoppers are 14-7 overall. They visit Pawnee on Saturday. Carter Logue outdueled Preston Curtis in a spectacular pitcher's duel at Clinton High School on Wednesday afternoon. Logan fired 6 innings of 2-run ball with 8 strikeouts. Neither run was earned for Logue. Curtis went the distance with 8 strikeouts of his own. He allowed 3 runs, 1 earned on 4 hits. Jackson Finch hit a 2-run single in the top of the 7th inning that put the Bombers ahead 3-2. Brock Wilson reached on an error in the first inning, which scored a run. Ryan Pine followed with a double that scored Wilson to put the Maroons in front 2-0. Finch doubled in a run in the 5th inning to make the score 2-1. It would stay that way until the 7th. Josh Bass was 2 for 4 with a double for Clinton at the top of the order. Finch finished 2 for 3 with 3 RBIs for the Bombers. Argenta-Oreana improves to 15-8 overall. They visit Villa Grove in Lincoln Prairie Conference action on Thursday. Clinton goes to 15-10 overall. They visit Lincoln on Friday. Hear the action on WHOW and all its digital platforms. A 9-run 5th inning broke through a slow start for Normal Community as the Ironmen shut out Urbana 10-0 in a 5-inning run rule win in Big 12 Conference high school baseball action on Wednesday in Urbana. Carter Reiners fired a no-hitter across 5 innings of shutout ball with 8 strikeouts and issued just 1 walk. Max Heineman, Carter Harris, and Beckett Weber contributed doubles for Normal Community. Tice Beckman had 2 RBIs. Normal Community goes to 22-2 overall and 12-1 in the Big 12 Conference. They will host Urbana on the return of a home-and-home in Big 12 play on Friday. Mason Anslinger struck out 10 across 6 innings of shutout ball, leading Normal West to a 6-0 win over Danville in Big 12 Conference high school baseball action on Wednesday in Normal. Ty Backman's 2-run single in a 4-run 3rd inning backed an incredible outing by Aiden Anslinger. Backman was 2 for 3 with a double and 2 RBIs. Anslinger had a triple. The Wildcats go to 17-9 overall and 9-4 in the Big 12. They will travel to Danville on Friday. Madison Highland trolled 5 shutout innings, and Isabella Beery drove in a team-best 3 runs as Monticello blanked Maroa-Forsyth 10-0 in a run-rule non-conference win over Maroa-Forsyth on Wednesday in Monticello. Beery was 3 for 3 with 3 RBIs and a triple to lead the Lady Sages. Allie Widener and Reese Steiger drove in 2 runs apiece and each hit doubles for Monticello. Cassidy Stoffel and Highland drove in the other runs. Highland walked 3, allowed a hit, and struck out 1 in 5 shutout innings in Circle for Monticello. The Lady Trojans dropped to 10-17 overall. They host Warrensburg Latham on Friday. Monticello improves to 20-7 overall. They are off until Monday when they host Olympia. Hear the action on 95.9 FM WEZC and online at DeWittDailyNews.com. Addison Maiden drove in 4 runs, and Argenta-Oreana rallied past Clinton 6-3 in non-conference high school softball action on Wednesday afternoon in Argenta. Maiden's 2-run home run in the 3rd inning answered a 3-run frame from the Lady Maroons to make the score 3-2. Then Maiden added a 2-run homer in a decisive 4-run 5th inning. The Lady Maroons went in front when Laney Brewer singled in 2 in the top of the 3rd inning. Campbell Bass followed with a run-scoring single to put Clinton in front 3-0. Maiden led all players going 2 for 3 with 4 RBIs. Brewer drove in 2 for Clinton, while Avery Smith and Hadley Humble each hit doubles in the loss. The Lady Bombers are 13-10 overall. They visit Villa Grove on Thursday for a Lincoln Prairie Conference tilt. Clinton goes to 7-17 overall. They host Meridian on Friday in Central Illinois Conference play. Travis Denard hit a 3-run homer. Argenta-Oreana threw 6 innings of 2-hit ball, and the Los Angeles Angels defeated the Chicago White Sox 8-2 on Wednesday.
The White Sox began a 6-game West Coast trip with an infusion of excitement, but it quickly wilted in the California sun Wednesday afternoon. Failing to turn a second-inning double play allowed veteran catcher Travis d'Arnaud to punish rookie Noah Schultz.
And he drives one in the air to deep left, and it is gone. That's a 3-run homer.
Things went from bad to worse when Chase Mydroth failed to end the same inning after losing a pop-up in the sun.
2-1 is popped up on the infield. Mydroth was looking for help, and the ball drops. It's a base hit for Trout.
The Sox exit California 3-3 on the trip. After an off day on Thursday, the Sox start up a 9-game homestand at Wright Field, beginning with the Seattle Mariners Friday night. I'm Jeff Meller, and I'll have your pregame coverage starting at 6 p.m. on the ESPN 1000 Hard Rock Casino White Sox Network.
The White Sox are back in action on WHOW on Saturday when they play the second of a 2-game series against the Seattle Mariners. Pregame starts at 5:30 p.m. Aaron Ashby tied Atlanta's Chris Sale for the Major League lead with his 6th win, backed by Andrew Vaughn's 3-run homer in a 4-run first inning, and the Milwaukee Brewers beat the St. Louis Cardinals 6-2 on Wednesday. Aaron Ashby entered to open the 6th and pitched 2 hitless innings, allowing his only runner to reach on a walk as 5 pitchers combined on a 4-hitter. Rookie Brandon Sproat started and gave up 1 hit and 3 walks over 4 innings while striking out 5. Andre Palante allowed 5 runs and 8 hits in 6 innings as the Cardinals lost for the second time in 9 games. Brewers right-hander Jacob Misiorowski starts Friday's series opener against the New York Yankees, and left-hander Max Fried. Cardinals lefty Matthew Liberatore starts Thursday at San Diego, which starts right-hander Michael King. Michael Busch drove in the winning run with a bases-loaded walk in the 10th inning after Pete Crow Armstrong connected for a 2-run homer in the 9th, and the Chicago Cubs beat the Cincinnati Reds 7-6 on Wednesday night for their 8th consecutive victory. It was the 3rd consecutive walk-off win for the Cubs. Busch hit an RBI single in the 10th inning of Tuesday night's 3-2 victory over the Reds. Ian Happ also homered as NL Central leading Chicago won for the 18th time in 21 games overall. Happ finished with 3 hits and scored twice. Matt McLean and Spencer Steer homered for Cincinnati in its 6th consecutive loss. Trent Thornton got 3 outs for the win in his Cubs debut. Happ extended his on-base streak to 27 games when he connected for his team-high 9th homer in the first inning. Rhett Lauder starts for Cincinnati on Thursday, and left-hander Shoto Imanaga pitches for Chicago in the finale of the 4-game series. Get highlights of your local high school program by finding IL SportsWire on your preferred social media platforms, and get local sports anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com.
This is staff meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki with your regional radio forecast. Slight chance of thunderstorms today, otherwise mainly clear skies. Highs of aloft